Good evening, everybody. It is 5:30, so we will make a start if we can. Firstly, I will read the live stream declaration. So, the Shire of Murray Ordinary Council meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Shire's website in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995. Members of the public attending this meeting consent to the possibility that their image and voice may be captured on the recording and live streaming. Statements or decisions made at this meeting should not be relied or acted on by any applicant or person until they have received written notification from the Shire of Murray. So welcome members of the public, councillors, staff to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 27th of March. I declare the meeting open and we have our attendance and apologies. We have apologies from Councillor Lee and we have apologies from Mr. Alan Smith, Director of Infrastructure Services, and we have Mr. Martin Harrop stepping in on his behalf. We do also have to acknowledge the resignation that we received last week from Shire President David Bolt upon his successful election to the State Parliament. We accept that resignation more because we have to than we want to, and that we wish him all the very best in the State Parliament. He was elected to the Shire Council in October 2015 during the ordinary election cycle, and he spent the last 7 odd years as our President, and he's done a mighty fine job, I believe. And so I believe, and I'd like to move a motion that we write and sincerely thank him for all of his service as a council for the past 9.5 odd years. I think he's done a sterling effort and he's seen this Shire progress in ways that some of us, when we started, maybe might not have thought it could. So I'd like to move that as a motion, if someone would be pleased, happy to second it. Councillor Kirkham, all those in favour of that? That is passed unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Lee is, like I said, he's not here because he's on an approved leave of absence. Does anybody else wish to be applying for any leaves of absence while we're at that item?
Just a reminder, President, that I won't be here for next month. I think it's already in the minutes for that.
That's correct. You and I both are absent for next month, which has already been dealt with. Response to previous question time taken on notice, I believe that to be nil. And we now go into public question time for this evening. Are there going to be any questions from the public at all tonight? No, thank you. We do not have any petitions and approved deputations. So we'll move on to item 6, confirmation of the minutes. 6.1, Ordinary Council meeting 27th of February 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Rogers and Councillor Carter seconding. Does anybody have any questions or comments in relation to those minutes? That being the case, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is passed unanimously. 6.2, Audit and Risk Committee meeting from the 13th of March 2025. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that item? Councillor Willis, Councillor Black. Again, are there any questions or comments in relation to those minutes? Nope, I'll put that to the vote. Thank you. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 7, announcements by the presiding member will be attached, and item 8, announcements by elected members will also be attached. Acknowledgement of receipt of disclosure of interest by me, presiding member. We have one, and that is Councillor Stuart Carter, and that is in relation to item 11.2, amendment number 328 to Local Planning Scheme number 4, Special Control Area for frontage lots in which he owns a property, so that will be a proximity interest. And Councillor Carter will be leaving the meeting for that item. Thank you.
Could I just raise one?
Yes, you can.
If I can, Mr President. Item 12.8, Food Innovation Precinct. It relates to Grow Hub Innovations. I advise the board, as I would any of the stakeholders there, but because it's on the agenda, I just wish to state that I have not an interest, but certainly a connection with Grow Hub in my role as CEO for the betterment of the Shire of Murray economically. I just wanted that to be tabled.
But you'll be remaining in the meeting?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Item 10, reception of minutes and recommendations of committees held since previous meeting of council. We have the Compliance Audit Return 2025. Councillors, we have an officer's recommendation there, a committee recommendation there. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that item? Councillor Carter and Councillor Pike. Will there be anybody opposing this item? Councillor Carter, would you like to speak to the item? Councillor Pike? Okay, that being nobody against, we'll put that item to the vote. All those in favour? It's passed. Thank you. Unanimously. Item 11, Planning and Sustainability. 11.1, Amendment number 327 to the Local Planning Scheme number 4, rezoning of 106 Newton Street dwelling up from public purposes to residential R10. Likewise, councillors, we have an officer's recommendation there. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Pike to move, Councillor Black to second. Will there be anybody opposing this item? No. Councillor Pike, would you like to speak to the item?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'd just like to say I think it's about time. Dwelling up really needs the housing, and to have something approved to extend housing in that area is going to be great for the community as well as the Shire.
Thank you. Councillor Black, would you like to... any other comments or questions from any other councillors before we put it to the vote? No? I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? That's passed. Thank you unanimously. Item 11.2 is the item that Councillor Carter is going to be leaving us for, I believe. Yes, that's correct. Amendment number 328 to the Local Planning Scheme number 4, Special Control Area for Frontage Lots. Councillors, we have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Willis. Councillor Rogers for seconding. Thank you. Will there be anybody opposing this item? Are there any comments or questions from anybody? Councillor Willis.
Just like to say I think it's really important that we protect the current views and lifestyle of the residents, and the recent Supreme Court decision of WA sort of puts that at risk. So the SCA will then allow us to, protect the residents, their current lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No other comments or questions, councillors? That being the case, we'll put it to the vote then. Thank you. It's passed unanimously. Thanks. No. Okay, councillors, sorry about that. Item 11.3, Ravenswood East Structure Plan Extension. We have the officer's recommendation. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Rogers, Councillor Carter to second. Anybody going to be against this item? No? Councillor Rogers, would you like to speak? Councillor Carter? No? Any comments or questions at all?
Yes, thanks, Mr. President. Just a question to the directors. Is there any particular reason why we're not actually opening up more of the riverfront that's down? I mean, we're just offering small blocks as normal, like a suburban community, but I don't see there any progress towards opening more of the riverfront down towards the bend. I'm not sure why, curious why that's not happening, and rather than pushing out into nothing, we're not creating more waterfront homes.
Mr. Peake?
Well, this structure plan does have some riverfront land, of course, but I think the area that you're talking about is in that peninsula, not far from the. Yeah, that land is largely privately owned, and most of it is in the Murray River floodway, unfortunately. So that's prevented from being developed. There is a small portion of that site that is zoned for urban development. We just haven't had a proposal from the landowner to date.
Thank you, Mr. Peake.
Thank you, Mr. Peake and Councillor Pike. Would there be any other comments or questions? No? Well, we'll put that one to the vote then, thank you. All those in favour? That is passed unanimously. Corporate governance, item 12.1, request approval from the Electoral Commissioner for the office of Shire President to remain unfilled. As discussed, councillors, obviously the Shire President being an elected position now in a Band 2 government such as us, it now needs to be elected by the populace here. So we're asking for that position, as the officer's recommendation states, for me to fill that position until October, which is the general election cycle. So we have the recommendation there. Do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Kirkham, Councillor Willis. Will there be anybody opposing this item? Councillor Kirkham, would you like to speak to it?
Oh, it'll just save the council money in not having a by-election before the normal election in October.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Willis, have you got anything to add? No? Okay, councillors, we'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. Big shoes for me to fill now till October. 12.2, appointment of member of council to act as Deputy Shire President. So, I've got that right? Yes. So, councillors, before we can move the second part of this recommendation, because I intend to move it on block if that's okay, the two recommendations together. Yes?
If there's no other nomination, we've got one nomination.
Yep. So we have got one nomination from Councillor Rogers to fill the acting Deputy President spot. Are there going to be any other nominations from the floor? No? If not, then we will complete the recommendation for Councillor Rogers to fill that gap. And now I'd ask for a mover and a seconder to that item, please. Councillor Willis is a mover, Councillor Black to second. Will there be anybody against this recommendation? No? That being the case, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. I hope the mover and the seconder didn't want to speak because I forgot that bit. Congratulations, Councillor Rogers. Okay, 12.3, appointment of presiding members to council committees. We have got the officer's recommendation there. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Carter, Councillor Willis. Will there be anybody against that motion? No? Councillor Carter, would you like to speak to the item?
Just that it's a good idea of having the Shire President, or in this case the Acting President, for the up until October for filling that position.
Thank you very much. Councillor Willis, would you like to add anything? No? Okay, we'll put that to the vote then. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. 12.4, replacement members on the Metropolitan Outer Development Assessment Panel. That is the officer's recommendation for me to fill the Shire President's position on there, as I was first alternate member. And now we need a councillor that would like to nominate for the position to be that first alternate member. Councillor Kirkham would like to nominate. Would anybody else like to nominate? No, that being the case, we'll slot you into that gap, and now we have a complete motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Black to move, Councillor Rogers to second. Will there be anybody speaking against this item? No? Councillor Black, would you like to speak to the item? Thank you. Councillor Rogers? No? Okay, we'll put the item to the vote then. Thank you. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. Thank you. 12.5, appointment of council representative to the Dwelling Up Community Village Incorporated Management Committee. This is as a result of Councillor Black choosing to vacate that role. So do we have a councillor that would like to nominate for that position, please? Councillor Willis. And we also need a councillor, well, preferably need a councillor to act as a proxy if Councillor Willis is unavailable, should the motion get up.
Can I ask a question, please?
Certainly.
Are the meetings for this usually held after hours or during normal work hours? It's going to exclude me, unfortunately.
Okay. It's probably not mandatory that we do have a proxy, but if there's anybody that feels as though they could fill that role, we can deal with that now. If not, we will seek a mover and a seconder just for Councillor Willis to be the representative. Okay, we'll do that now. So we have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Pike to move, Councillor Rogers to second. And we will run without a proxy at this stage. And that is demonstrated in that motion that's moved and seconded. So is there going to be anybody that would like to speak against this? No? Councillor Pike, would you like to speak to it? No. Councillor Rogers, would you like to speak to it? No? All right, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. Item 12.6, Local Government Reform Consultation, CEO KPIs and online registers. We have the officer's recommendation there. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Carter to move, Councillor Willis to second. Will there be anybody speaking against this? Are there any comments or questions at all?
I would just like to say that I absolutely agree with the proposed feedback, which I read in detail, although changes included in the local government reform should be done to provide additional clarity for the community. I can see that many of the suggested changes would not make things clearer for the community and might even muddy the waters.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Councillor Willis, have you got any comments you'd like to add as a seconder?
Just like to say that I totally agree with Councillor Carter. As much as it's intended to add clarity, I think it does create a huge amount of extra work for the officers and the CEO. And in such, including muddying the waters, I would hope that the WA state government takes that under consideration.
Thank you. Any other quick comments or questions, councillors, before we put this to the vote? No? Okay, all those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 12.7, 2024 to 2025 Statutory Budget Review. We have an officer's recommendation there. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Rogers to move. Councillor Black to second. Will there be anybody to speak against this item? No? Councillor Rogers, would you like to speak to it? Councillor Black? No? Any other comments or questions at all? No? We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. Item 12.8, Food Innovation Precinct of Western Australia, Grow Hub Innovations request to sublease. This is the item that the CEO has declared an impartiality interest in. So would you like to read the declaration? Or you don't have? You don't have to read the declaration, I guess, because you don't get to vote.
No.
Of course. No, you're right. You caught me. However, it has been declared, so everyone's aware. Do I have a mover and a seconder for this item? Councillor Carter to move, Councillor Pike to second. Will there be anybody likely to speak against this item? Any comments or questions from the mover? No? From the seconder? No? Any other comments or questions from any other member? No? Okay, we'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. (12.9) Amendment to Council Policy A3, Annual Shire of Murray Administration Office Closure. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Carter to move, Councillor Black to second. Any comments or questions at all on this item? Councillor Carter?
Look, having the flexibility to make a decision on the closing and reopening makes a lot of sense. I'm sure that the CEO will make a decision based on the best interest of the Shire and the Shire's administration staff.
Agreed. Councillor Black, would you like to add anything? Okay, anybody have any other comments or questions? If not, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. Item 12.10, Monthly Financial Report for February 2025. We have the officer's recommendation there. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Rogers to move, Councillor Willis to second. Are there going to be is anyone going to speak against this item? If not, are there any other comments or questions in relation to it? If not, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. Item 12.11, Payments from Municipal and Trust Funds, February 2025. Again, we have the recommendation there. If I can have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Kirkham to move, Councillor Carter to second. Any comments or questions on this item at all? No? We'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour? It's passed unanimously. Okay, councillors, we have item 13.1. This is in relation to the golf club. We've all been notified of the slight amendment to the officer's recommendation, which is in point 4, and point 4 now reads, supports the further development of the project and it being included in the Shire of Murray list of advocacy projects to be funded by state and or federal governments via an election commitment in 2025 or 28-29, based on evidence from the following being provided and to the satisfaction of council from the club to help that advocacy. Is everyone happy with that slight amendment? It's only a few words. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that item, please? Councillor Pike to move. Councillor Carter to second. Is there anyone likely to speak against this item? Are there any comments or questions from this mover? From the seconder? No? Any comments or questions from any other councillors? No? All right. We'll put that item to the vote then. All those in favour? It's moved unanimously. Passed unanimously, I should say. Item 14.1. Request to remove I'll start again. It's half of it's cut, that's where we go. Request to remove heavily pruned trees from Dixon Road. Councillors, we have been notified in writing of an alternate motion. Councillor Willis, are you wishing to move that motion? Okay. Councillors, you have that motion there, but I believe I have to read that because it's not in the agenda that's been published for the people that are online. So that the alternate motion reads, councillors request a further report to be provided at the April 2025 meeting with feedback from adjacent neighbours and any impacts that the removal of trees may have on them, for example, any visual impact or glare from the white bowling green canopy. So that's the motion that Councillor Willis has moved. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Rogers, am I going to have anybody that would be likely to speak against that item, that alternate motion? If not, Councillor Willis, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Shire President. Yes, having driven past the area a couple of times once the agenda came up, I started to think that there's the possibility of sufficient glare coming off of the white canopy, and I just want to be sure that that's not going to impact on the people living across the street, and also just to consider, you know, how many trees and what we actually do in that regard based on any impact that it has upon them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Willis. Councillor Rogers, have you got anything you'd like to add? The CEO has provided us with some photos highlighting the trees for those that haven't had the opportunity to go on site and look. So if there's nobody, do I have any further comments or questions from anybody? Councillor Pike?
Yeah, just one comment. I think that the approach of heavily pruning would be a far better idea than to totally destroy the trees. Just let it grow back and chop it down again in a few more years. That way it keeps everyone happy.
Thank you, Councillor Pike. So, in essence, this recommendation or motion that's now been moved is that we're going to seek feedback from the residents adjoining so that we can get their feedback before we do anything to make sure that whatever we do is not going to adversely impact on them. So, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll put this item to the vote. All those in favour? That's passed unanimously. That brings us to 15 items for information. 15.1 is the delegated development application decisions for February 2025. They've been attached for information. 15.2 outstanding council resolutions for March 2025 have also been attached for information. 15.3 council plan for 2024-25 quarterly progress report is also attached. Item 16, business left over from a previous meeting, there is nil. 17, elected members, motions of which previous notice has been given, is nil. Item 18, notice of motions for consideration at the following meeting. Councillors, have I got any notices of motion that you'd like to submit for next meeting? That is nil. 19, new business of an urgent nature approved by the presiding member or by decision of council. Any there? I don't believe so, nothing through me. And there is no confidential business tonight, so that being the case, I am going to close the meeting at 5:58. Thank you, councillors. Thank you to the members of the public that have come to witness the meeting. I hope it was interesting enough. I hope I didn't make too many mistakes. So thank you for your attendance. Thank you, staff, for being here. And we will